In this unit, we'll discuss a very interesting subject, which is communication network security, and we'll learn about several key issues in the field. An attack on a computer communication network is an attempt to take information without permission, an attempt to damage the information or the computer network infrastructure. For example, an attacker might utilize the network to its maximum capabilities with irrelevant spam messages and thus block the passing of other messages, acting as a huge traffic jam. There are several key questions that need to be asked when approaching the field of network security. The first question is, how can a malignant entity, a bad guy, attack computer networks? Second question, how can we protect computer communication networks from such attacks? Third question, how can we plan network architectures that would be immune to attacks, and is it even possible? Generally, networks weren't planned with too many worries about network security. There are various kinds of attacks. One of the ways is to plant malicious software, or malware, into a certain host by using the internet as a way to arrive at it. There are many ways to plant such malware. A common example is using human weaknesses, such as a user opening a file they received by email. This innocent-looking file is actually a virus, which is a code that replicates itself into the host the file is run at. Another way is by using code which self-replicates without activation, and even without its acceptance to the host, but based on the network infrastructure. This code is called a worm. Spyware malware is a program that records actions on the host and transmits them to a central location. The actions this program can record can be typing on the keyboard, for example, passwords, up to activation of devices, surfing to specific sites, and so on. The center receiving the data can use it for negative purposes, such as putting users into target adware lists and even pretending to be the user, committing financial theft, identity theft, corrupting medical data, and so on. Additionally, the center receiving data sent via the spyware malware can create a database of potential hosts and be a precursor to a future attack named DDoS. DOS is short for denial of service. This attack takes place when one computer purposely loads a server in order to waste its resources, such as memory processing, and network resources such as bandwidth and infrastructure, and to prevent authentic internal users from receiving service from that host. Nowadays, there's a variety of tools to identify such an attack, which mostly entail the ability to identify a single origin host attacking servers. Therefore, there is a more sophisticated attack called DDoS, which is short for Distributed Denial of Service, where the attack on the server is organized from a number of hosts, sometimes even without them knowing, and sometimes within the same network. And sometimes the attacker's hosts are really scattered all around the globe and cooperating. In such cases, it is harder to identify a coordinated attack from a number of cooperating machines. The way to make a point execute the attack can be by using malware without the knowledge of the users at that host. An example for a DDoS-style attack on a server consists of 3 stages. The first stage is choosing an attack target based on a malicious need. The second stage is deploying and planting the malware in innocent points. The third stage, sending a large amount of messages for prolonged periods to the targeted server. It's important to note we're speaking about a field which is constantly updated, is very creative, so there are many ways to carry out such an attack. Another method a bad guy can use in order to get information without permission is using a tool called a sniffer. The attacker sits on the infrastructure between 2 hosts in a session. He is not necessarily physically located on this infrastructure, but could be controlling another innocent point which is sitting on the infrastructure. The attacker identifies and records the data being sent back and forth between hosts without their knowledge. There are many tools to do packet sniffing. The most familiar of them is called a Wireshark. The Wireshark is an open free tool which fits all operating systems. Of course, this tool has many uses, not necessarily malicious ones, such as a means to search the network, identify problems, and develop protocols. Another type of attack is impersonation. what's called IP spoofing. In this case, the attacker impersonates another host, a client or a server, and takes a variety of actions versus other hosts while impersonating another source so that the accusing finger for these actions is pointed to a different host. There are other kinds of attacks of the IP spoofing variety, which we'll learn about later on. In this unit, we've learned about various types of attacks. It's important to note that the data security field is a broad and constantly developing area, and the methods we've mentioned are the most basic and familiar in the field.